Let's now look at the features of human service organizations. So human service organizations really are different from other consumer-focused organizations such as banking and retail organizations in the fact that human service organizations focus on well-being, equity, and social justice goals rather than profit-focused goals. So there are a few other traits you might really like to consider. The fact that we have the human at the center of everything we do as human service workers. The fact that we are more and more rights focused, right-based, and the fact that really we are informed by the core values of humans and social work and human services. But definitely unique organizational traits such as multidisciplinary teams and complex accountability get to shape our practice and even our autonomy as workers to make complex decisions. And the governance system for human services really might be very sensitive, needs to be sensitive to these core values. So, unfortunately, and I have to really acknowledge that early on, that this mandate, which is supposed to be informed by the core values of social work, may not always be met as we would like, and there might be some frustrations in the way we experience the organizations in which we get to work because of the many constraints which come with how organizational structures really operate, even when we know these values are there, even when we really want to make them work. Sometimes it doesn't always happen the way we want it. And I'll speak to that in a minute. Now, you might wonder, why do we need to focus on this understanding of the features of human service organizations? The answer is simple. Unless we really develop this understanding, then we might be missing an important part of how organizational context gets to shape practice and even ethical decision making. So now, a few features quickly if you might want to focus on these. Understanding that already at the center of human services, we have the human aspect of things, and we are trying to help humans, helping humans meet their needs. And we have this understanding that the needs are not neutral, they are embedded in human experience. We are also focusing on prevention and problem solving through a right-based approach. We are trying to improve quality of life, again, life of the humans. And we are promoting effective service delivery systems with the understanding that there could be barriers which prevent humans from accessing services, but also questions of accountability and coordination, which are, again, central to how organizations operate. If you look at the Queensland government's human service quality standards, 2024, they actually emphasize these ideas that human services promote improved service delivery system, service accessibility, and address really human needs and human rights and coordination among professionals and agencies engaging in human services. And you have these standards which you might really want to consider if you haven't already. Now, in this week, last week, we tried to introduce each other. A few people really wrote, and again, you can appreciate now the diversity of the places in which people are working already for their placement. I can see people based in community-based agencies, others going as far as working in forensic outreach programs, others working in, legal aids, and many more. You'll get to hear diverse experiences from the people from the different places where they are taking their placement. But also, more importantly, I would like, again, as we meet this week, to highlight how this diversity also comes with a diversity of roles and titles of the work which is waiting for you. In some roles, you will find yourself being, an advocate, community worker, case manager, I don't know, personal care attendant. And again, all these are still quite relevant to the work we do as human service workers. But also that means that we get to work with a wide range of clients. And basically, this is anyone who comes in for help, and it doesn't need to be people from a specific ethnic group or a specific racial group or a specific sexual orientation. We get to work with people from, all sorts of intersecting markers of identity. And again, that's something really I believe people have started appreciating as they are diving deep into their placement. Now, in the core textbook for the core reading for this week, again, you'll realize that the authors tried to make this distinction between human service organizations and other organizational arrangements. And we see that in terms of the primary purpose, human service organizations are different from market-based, agencies in that they are not really aiming for profit or market related goals, and rather they are trying to enhance well-being, meeting human needs, and making social change. Standards, again, get to vary in terms of the core work. Typical organizations just use really standardized service and product delivery models, whereas for us in human service organizations, the work is quite relational, interpersonal, emotionally complex, emotionally demanding as well. And you have all these other distinctions here, which you might want to look at and see whether that's something you would agree with. So more importantly, the reason I'm really mentioning all these distinctions, it's not only to really tell you that these differences are there, but to also realize how these differences are no longer static. They keep changing. They are dynamic and very much shaped by the neoliberal system in which we live now. Now we see trends in what is supposed to be human services organizations trying to adopt kind of market-based, operational frameworks. If we can think, for example, of how the NDIS program operates nationally, for example, which is, again, everyone would agree with me that services offering NDIS services definitely would be considered human services, and they are indeed. But when you look at how they are operating, you realize that some of these services are now adopting principles and are being implemented in ways really which would be questionable. And at times you might still think, okay, is this still really human service being informed by the values of social work, or is it now becoming a market-based service? So if you are doing your placement, or if you are working already in such an agency or such an organization, you might probably agree with me that definitely there are now some of the bureaucratic arrangements and eligibility principles, and which definitely you might start looking at and thinking, okay, this is now becoming a little bit different from what I expected as somebody with all of the values of social work I'm bringing to human service organizations. So you might want to appreciate that. And it's not only about NDIS, it's, if we look at how child protection organizations operate and, out-of-home care services and all those, you can get to be to appreciate how definitely these differences between what is human service, what is not human services, it's no longer something to be taken for granted. And I'm really just mentioning this so that people don't get frustrated with some of the things they might be already experiencing or which they might end up experiencing in their practice. So thank you very much, and see you in the next recordings.